Hello and welcome to this brand new tutorial of Captain America. Now, as you can see, I've built and primed him. Incidentally, this is the Steve Rogers Captain America from the initial core box set from Marvel Crisis Protocol. I've primed him with greys, kind of standard grey, then Gracia around, and then over the top with white, just a blast. Starting off with Bugman's Glow and Cadian Flesh Tone in a 1-to-1 mix ratio. I'm going to be using some flow enhancer with a little drop of water to water it down with, to thin it down with, decrease the surface tension, etc. As you can see, I'm going to be using a mixture of Artist Opus brushes and Games Workshop, primarily Artist Opus. So I'm just going to show you how I am initially going to mix those two paints. Let's put in a little blob. Bugman's Glow on first, then a blob of Cadian Flesh Tone, and I'll just mix them in. This is on a wet palette, by the way, and I'm just using that flow enhancer and water mixture to thin it down. More concerned about this with the skin, or even though it's probably the smallest area on the model. So just giving you an idea, that's like a larger brush. It's just a cheap brush that I'm using to mix them up with. Right, starting with my Artist Opus brush and just starting with the flesh. So it's just the face, like cheeks, nose, and ears. Really, there's not much of him flesh-wise to worry yourself about. And although we're just starting out painting the model, it is a good idea at this stage. I would recommend that you try to keep practicing a steady hand. I'm not saying I've got the steadiest hands in the world, but of course you've got the option to clean up with each stage after the one you're doing. But the more you practice steady hand work, the easier it becomes with time. So at this early stage, I'm practicing, trying not to get it over any other parts of the model that I don't necessarily need to be a flesh tone. After that, I'm going to work on the white undershirt, or what looks like the white undershirt with pale blue grey from Vallejo. Again, same, just filling it down with the flow enhancer and the drop of water. So I did that mixture first, and then I just use that to mix it, thin it all down with. So just working on the undershirt around the arms, like around his midriff arms, around the star, and I'm also going to be working on the middle circle of his shield and the star on the shield as well. I'll just start it off and then come back to that as and when, just to just to show you what parts of the model I am painting with this color. Slightly difficult to see with the white primer, I'll give you that, but it does come out nice and bright when you paint over the top of it, and the eagle motifs on the side of his head, of course, and not forgetting the A symbols on his forehead and left shoulder. Still practicing a steady hand control at this stage. Yes, just going around making sure I've got all the white bits I need to under the shirt, under the belt straps across his back, all that kind of thing. As I say, once you've done it, you can always go back, look around the model, and go back and tidy up and finish off any areas that you need to. You may not see these bits you miss till subsequent layers, but just try and get them all in the first pass if you can. As you can see there, just finishing off the shield I started. Just like to mark out the areas I want of a certain colour, and then I'll come back to finish them off later. Obviously, quite a steady hand required for the A symbols and the eagle motifs. Right, now there's a mixture of medium blue and black, 3-1 roughly. Well, I say 3-1, it's probably not 3-1. It's probably mostly medium blue. But putting it on my wet palette, I just drag it in. I do like one blob of black, but as I'm mixing it, I'm thinking, yeah, it's a little darker than I anticipated. It's more like a grey. All right, a blue grey, but I wanted it bluer than that. I can always go lighter and adjust with glazes if I need to. So that's more or less the colour I want there to use. That kind of darker blue. I'm starting with the trouser section. And this is probably the largest area of the model. So working my way around here, and this is definitely a section where you want to go back after you think you finished, just check it over, make sure you've covered all the areas that you need before moving on to the next section. Obviously being careful around areas such as stars on his chest and shield, as you will see. And of course his face mask, needing to be quite careful with that too. Yeah, just trying to keep that steady hand practice for the star. Always good. It's always good. I find the more I practice the steady hand, the better I get at it. I do have days where I'm a bit shakier than others, but some days it's pretty good. As long as you're happy with the results, that's what really matters. And this is more or less just about color schemes for you to follow. I am aiming for a slightly above tabletop standard with this. Just like one notch above, I would say. So being careful around the symbols as well. And the straps, let's not forget those. I mean, you could just blast your way over them if you had a mind to, but still, it's easier to pick them out if you try to avoid them. I think I made a mistake there with his. So you're seeing my mistakes firsthand as well. I don't know what possessed me to paint his glove blue. I don't think he's got blue gloves, but I'll fix that later if need be. As you can tell, I haven't finished the tutorial at this stage. But again, I just want a decent model for my Marvel Crisis Protocol games, and I want Cap to be my main leader. Right, I'm putting a shade wash on now, not for the sake of a shade wash. It's just the grade shade. Soul Blight Grey is the color. I'm just using it to go over the white, or it's a grey, white grey, light grey area. Anyway, just trying to pick out the recess. Okay, so now we are onto burnt red. You could also use corn red, I suppose, or a brighter red, and just darken it down with a touch of black. Just mix it down. But I wanted a really dark red for the reds. Now I'm acknowledging my mistake with the gauntlet or the glove to begin with here. I don't know why I painted that blue. See, That was a mistake. But anyway, painting it red now. They're red. Or the red gauntlets. So burnt red by Vallejo, my paint of choice for this particular part of the model. Boots as well. Don't forget the boots. Get them in with the red as well. We're nearing the end of the base colors. I'm doing things sort of slightly different to how I normally paint when I'm on my own. This is for a tutorial, so I'm doing it, trying my best to do it in a set way for you to follow, or myself if I needed to recreate this in the future. So also doing the gauntlet underneath, the one that's holding the shield, and then the stripes. Now the lines weren't too clear on these, so I kind of felt it left a little bit of room for sort of artistic creation. I think they are there, and maybe on some models more pronounced than others, but they were pretty difficult to spot for me, unless it's just my bad eyesight, of course. And of course, with this sort of thing, clean up as you go. That's my motto, which is obviously what I did. Get the stripes in there, and then starting on the shield with the red, done the white. So it's just the outer ring and the inner ring on the shield to do. And once that is down, in my eyes, he starts to look a bit more like Captain America. So this is especially a good example of where you need to have a steady hand. Now the lines are a little bit more pronounced here on the shield, which made it somewhat easier to follow. Again, you're gonna make the odd mistake here and there. Just like I say, correct it as you go as best you can, and just take your time. Do not rush this. This is not a quick thing. It looks quick on a tutorial, but believe me, it isn't. Just take your time. If you feel unsteady or a bit shaky, just come back to it at a later time when you feel more able to. But keep your hands steady. Keep it against the desk if you can. So that's the red done. Right, we're on to the leather now, and Rhinox hide is what I used for the leather sections, namely his like utility belt, and of course the straps, which are around his body on this version. Don't actually know what he keeps in those pouches, I'm sure, but sure they're very useful to him. This is the Steve Rogers version, like the one of the early concepts or the early inceptions of Captain America. And I really do like this one. I like this one because of the pose more than anything. The way he's holding that shield, it's just great. It looks like he's about to throw it. Just an awesome pose, in my opinion. Yeah, so getting the straps done there now. Again, with all of it, you still need a steady hand. And the further you go into a painting project such as this, the more that steady hand becomes necessary. But I think this is the last of the actual base paints to lay down. So the rest is going to be either wash or ink or highlight. Highlights, of course, will be probably the longest section of this tutorial. Make sure you get the straps underneath the shield as well. That's always important. Easy to forget things like that. Right, cobalt metal. I chose this for the underside of the shield because it's got a kind of, I don't know, otherworldly feel to it with its slight blue hue. And yeah, I went for some metallics in this. I felt there was no sense in playing heroics for like an underside of a shield, or indeed the clips, buckles on his straps and belt, which I'll do in a moment. And for that, I'm using lead belcher. Good old lead belcher. Had to come into it somewhere, didn't it? Yeah, so just doing the clips and the belt buckle. Like I say, I'm not going to try and do non-metallic metals on small things like that. It's just not worth it. I didn't feel it was worth it for it. I'm not trying to do non-metallic metals on this model. I'm just painting it the way it is. It's just the way it happens to be. It's just happenstance that I'm painting it in this manner. So who knows? Other models in the Marvel Crisis Protocol series, I may change my mind. Right, now this is an interesting section. I decided to go for a shade wash, Drakenhof Nightshade Black Ink. So $1 of Drakenhof Nightshade, 2 good helpings of black ink, and a dollop of Flow Improver with a wet brush, of course. And then I just very, very carefully, because I was, I knew I had to be careful with this because it's a easy for it to go everywhere, and it can look messy if you're not careful. But I felt it was worth the risk. I was using a small layer brush by Games Workshop for this section because it was a slightly larger area, but still mindful that I'm needing a steady hand. Like I say, not to get it everywhere because that just looks awful. Then you could ruin it at this stage. Yeah, I will be doing more highlights in a moment, but I'm counting this as part of the base stage because it takes so long to dry. Really, that was my initial concern. I thought, I'll get this out of the way first. I suppose the blue is the largest area on this model. So on his costume or suit, get this one done, get this drying, and then we can zip ahead. So just being very, very careful, getting in all the nooks and crannies, especially around the star and the shield as well, and shoulder pads and everything. So that was a bit of a risk. Right, taking an even bigger risk now. Battle Mud Wash. I did thin that down 1-to-1 with Flow Improver again. Now for the brown straps and belt, utility belt and brown straps. So yeah, I was washing those as well. Even more careful because the blue is still wet. So it was a huge risk, but ultimately I think it paid off.